ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
Elmore deep, left side three, good! From 30 feet, John Elmore!
The Drive with Paul Swann.
Good afternoon. I'm Bill Cornwell in for Paul Swann. Monday, the 7th of May, 2018. Paul will be with us in a day or two, but I'm going to be holding the fort down today and tomorrow. Coming off a busy sports weekend, and hopefully we're going to have a couple of guests today here on The Drive. First off, we're hoping to have Mitch Jacobs, Marshall volleyball coach, in studio. Of course, Mitch getting ready to head into yet another year of volleyball at Marshall. And to be honest with you, he has had a big-time, shall we say, change in his lineup. There's a refocus in the program. There's a refocus in the lineup. And Mitch and I will be talking about it a little bit later. Right now, we're going to talk a little bit about what's coming up this evening here on our airwaves. ESPN 94.1, AM 930, big basketball game this evening. It's not coming up till later tonight, and that's, of course, the Cleveland Cavaliers got a chance to wrap up their series against the Toronto Raptors, and believe me, coming into this, there's no way that I thought this was going to be a chance for a sweep, for the simple fact that Toronto finished ahead of Cleveland in the regular season. Toronto had a great first-round series, and they looked to be a team that was on a roll. However, Cleveland has caught fire, winning the two games in Toronto, coming home, winning Game 3 over the weekend, and tonight, 8:30 tip, they can actually get the job done and sweep this Toronto Raptors team. And because of that, a lot of scuttlebutt going around that the ownership up there in Toronto, the Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment folks, are not happy with head coach Dwayne Casey. Of course, Dwayne Casey, former Kentucky Wildcat basketball player, veteran coach in the NBA, a lot of years in the NBA, and he's really built the Toronto Raptors into one of the best squads in the NBA. But if they don't win tonight, stay alive, and keep their hopes alive, a lot of scuttlebutt going around that Dwayne Casey, despite in many people's eyes the NBA Coach of the Year this year, he might be gone, and that would be really tough. First game tonight is less than an hour away. Boston and Philadelphia are going to be doing battle at 6 o'clock, and of course Boston has a chance to finish that one off. That's a good possibility there. Actually, they have a 2-1 lead, but Boston has had a pretty strong series against Philadelphia, much to the surprise of a lot of people. So many people thought Philadelphia is really the new it team in the East in the NBA. Not the case. And Boston's got a chance to take a commanding lead on home court tonight at the TD Gardens in Boston. And that game will tip off at 6. But again, our major concern, Toronto and Cleveland, 8:30. And we'll have pregame activity right at 8 o'clock or so here on the ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Kind of quiet on the baseball front tonight. Several folks have the night off, including your Pittsburgh Pirates. No Pirates action here on ESPN 94.1 AM 930 this evening. The Buccos take the night off. They came off a big-time win over the Brewers yesterday by a score of 9-0. There was no afternoon baseball today, so pretty full schedule for the night, including the Reds, struggling as they continue to do. They lost 2 out of 3 to Miami over the weekend. The New York Mets are at Great American Ballpark tonight at 7:10. Other games tonight, San Francisco's at Philadelphia. Minnesota visiting the St. Louis Cardinals. Detroit at Texas. The Cubs hosting Miami. Oakland's home against the Houston Astros. And it's Washington taking on the San Diego Padres in San Diego. Kind of a sad baseball note The mother of Oakland A's outfielder Stephen Piscotty, Gretchen Piscotty, died on Sunday night. Now, Stephen Piscotty was a member of the St. Louis Cardinals, and he was asked for and was traded to the Oakland A's to be near his mother. Gretchen Piscotty was suffering from amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's disease. She was diagnosed with ALS about a year ago, and she passed away last night. She was 55. Billy Bean, the A's vice president of baseball operations of the A's organization, extends its deepest condolences to the Piscotty family on the loss of Gretchen. She was a devoted wife and mother whose legacy will live on through her husband Mike and sons Stephen, Austin, and Nick. So kind of sad. Stephen Piscotty made a great sacrifice. He was, to me, a pretty featured part of the St. Louis Cardinals operation there and the St. Louis Cardinals' future. But for the sake of his mother, he asked to be traded, and the A's and the Cardinals made that happen as he had signed a 6-year, $33.5 contract extension running through 2022 in St. Louis, and so he looked like he was going to be there for the long haul. But that was not the case, and he moved to Oakland and unfortunately lost his mother last evening. And talk about losing somebody, and talk about a real gentleman, a guy that always impressed really me and so many others. Over the weekend, we lost former Ohio and Western Carolina basketball coach Larry Hunter. Western Carolina spokesman Daniel Hooker said that Hunter's wife, Mary, told him that Coach Hunter died at a Cary, North Carolina hospital last Friday after suffering a stroke earlier in the week. Coach Hunter was 68. He had stepped down as the head coach of the Western Carolina Catamounts in March after the Cats went 13-19. But Hunter had an impressive record, 702 wins in his career at Wittenberg in Division III. Of course, he had 12 seasons at Ohio, and he ended up coaching 13 seasons down at Cullowhee, North Carolina, and at Western Carolina. And you talk about a guy who did a pretty good job. Didn't have an above 500 record, but for a place where it's hard to recruit players to in Cullowhee, North Carolina, I thought Coach Hunter did a nice job, and over the years, and but he decided to step down at the end of last year. But always a gentleman, and certainly he always enjoyed competing against Marshall. He always enjoyed those Marshall, Ohio basketball games, and he of course had an NCAA team at Ohio in 1994. Remember a guy named the Shack of the Mac, Gary Trent? That was one of the guys that was coached by Larry Hunter. And Bobcats played Indiana in 1994, lost to Bob Knight in Indiana by a score of 84-72. But Gary Trent was one of the players that was part of Coach Hunter's legacy at Ohio. And another guy you might remember who was a real great three-point bomber, Dave Jamerson. He was an all-MAC player, or MAC Player of the Year. Trent was a three-time MAC Player of the Year, and I believe he had one more. But, of course, Ohio was Larry Hunter's alma mater, and he gave the Bobcats some good years. So we certainly mourn the loss of a real gentleman of college basketball and a guy that I know a lot of Marshall fans really admired, and that's Larry Hunter, dead at the age of 68 after a stroke down in Cary, North Carolina, and he will be missed. A little bit of college basketball news from the Kentucky Wildcat front. There are 5 Kentucky Wildcats set to participate in the upcoming NBA Draft Combine in Chicago. Now, all these guys do not have agents, and that means they could go back to Kentucky. Now, the Wildcat underclassmen who are going to be in the Combine are Hamidou Diallo, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Kevin Knox, Jared Vanderbilt, P.J. Washington. They're just 5 of the 69 men who were invited to that. UK's 5 players tied with Duke and Kansas for the most on the NBA Draft Combine list. And remember that Vanderbilt and P.J. Washington did not hire agents, so they can come back to Kentucky, and there's a lot of hope that they might. Now, Hamidou Diallo, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and Kevin Knox, they are done in Lexington. They will not be coming back. The NBA Draft Combine will be coming up May 17th, May 18th from 3 to 7 p.m. each day, and you can actually see that on ESPN2. A lot of people who are NBA draft junkies and NBA junkies in general, they will sit and watch those drills for hours and hours to see who the up-and-comers are and the best are. Of course, we know about these Kentucky guys, and they very much fit the bill among the best. But we'll see what they can do against others at the NBA Draft Combine. Let's take a break right now. When we come back, we will have the head coach of Marshall University Volleyball, Mitch Jacobs. Mitch Jacobs will be in studio, and we're going to talk about changes coming to the volleyball team. You're listening to The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Wheel on The Drive, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Well, Bill Cornwell has the wheel today instead of Paul Swann, but Paul will be back in a day or two, no problem. And with us, the head coach of Marshall University's volleyball squad, Mitch Jacobs.
How we doing, Billy?
Hey, we're doing okay, man. And of course, for those of you who have listened to Paul and Mitch over the years, a lot of people know that Mitch could take over the show in a minute. He likes to do this show, do you not, sir?
Well, yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
I didn't know. Maybe he doesn't like it.
Let me tell you, Mitch. Well, the reason Mitch is conversant on any and every sport, and not just his own sport, volleyball. And by the way, it was fun watching the men's volleyball championships on ESPN over the weekend. Man, there are some athletes in that. Of course, one local team, Ohio State, was involved with it. So on the men's side, so there was some outstanding volleyball being played out there at UCLA this past weekend.
Ohio State, yeah, not the Bobcats though.
Right. Yes, so, Ohio State. We're talking about Ohio State. Yeah,
we got big win by Long Beach State.
Huh? And a comeback because they were in trouble against the home team in the UCLA Bruins. But
the men's game's good. The men's game's good. The thing about the men's game that makes it so solid is the low number of teams that actually participate, and the scholarships are only 4.5 per team.
Mm-hmm.
So it allows, you've got a former Marshall alum, Nikki Sandlin, who's the head men's coach at McKendree College, and they're Division II women's, and she's the head coach of the women's team. She's also the head coach of the men's team, and she's Division I there. So she's done such a good job there. She was the head coach for the youth national boys team.
Yeah, and that's like what you see sometimes with intercollegiate hockey. You see a lot of schools that do play Division I volleyball, like in hockey, that you're like,
well, they'll play Division I hockey.
That's it.
But that'll be
exactly. That'll be it.
It's kind of a niche, right? Or
it's
you'll
kind
have
of a niche.
Like Minnesota Duluth playing D2, but they play D1 hockey.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you, that's hurt Minnesota's program, huh? When they had to go to the Big Ten and leave that Minnesota North Star Conference, where all those boys want to stay home and play in front of their families all season. Now they're in the Big Ten. They don't, this was their best year since they moved.
Well, Mitch, you've been a busy guy this spring. There's no big rest for the weary, but you've been doing some Spartan work, reshaping your lineup this year. Of course, last year did not end up as we'd like. But
a bad year, Billy.
Bad year. It was a tough year.
It was the worst year we've
ever
had.
I was thinking about it, and I don't know if you might disagree with me on this, but it was to me a bad omen when I remember how the Herd played against West Virginia at home, and that was almost like a bad sign to me.
Yeah,
because because Marshall always is so strong at home against the Mountaineers, and the Mountaineers dominated the Herd. And that was almost like,
well,
that's bad.
Reed's doing a good job. They've been recruiting in the Big 12 how many years now?
Yeah,
so
about 2 or 3 years.
We're I think 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years.
And so we've gone 2-2 against them since they've gone to the Big 12. And I just have to say, that's the way it should be. It's going to be tough every time you play them. Our kids got to understand that. And I'd have to say, that they're, everybody who knows me knows I just kind of call it like it was. They played fantastic, and we didn't play anywhere near our ability. We didn't play hard enough, and that kind of summed up a lot of the season. You look at yourself as a coach and a staff, and you reevaluate, and that's what we've done for this offseason and that's all I've done since probably middle of last season is just keep reevaluating, keep trying to get better, try to reach these kids a little bit differently, and keep working because it's really about them. Without them, we don't have a program.
I mean, you went to kids, I guess, the end of the year last year, and did you just kind of challenge it? Are you willing to make the commitment for us to improve, or you want to move on? Because obviously you had some players did move on. Carl Walker's one of them. Obviously, she's at South Florida now.
Right, and it was almost like a good trade. We got Sierra DeBell came in from Florida Gulf Coast, and I don't want to talk individually about the situations that happen within our program, but the best thing that happened is we've got a whole bunch of kids that want to be here, want to play for me, want to play for this program, want to play for us, and want to be Marshall. And that's the most important thing that I've learned from day one when I got to Marshall. You got to have kids who want to be a part of Marshall. And when, there's a lot that comes with that. We're going to hold our kids accountable. We're going to want them accountable. We're going to want them to be upstanding adults in the community. And I think we've got a great group for the development of this program again. And I think if we have a chance to develop this thing, it's going to be fantastic.
You have 10 newcomers, right?
Yes, sir.
And you just announced just a couple weeks ago 7 new recruits. And just overall, what's the impressions we should get from this new group?
I think you're going to see a team. You're going to have kids that are hungry. One of the things that made our program great as we grew was finding kids who either absolutely wanted to be here or weren't getting the opportunities they thought they believed, and they had a chip on their shoulder. And then you're able to work with that kid. You're able to try to teach that young lady how to be great, and she wants to be great every day. I'm not going to say we didn't have that in our program, because we did. We have some kids in our program like that. We had a couple graduates just now like that. I know a Taylor Pelton worked hard every day, or mostly every day. She really wanted to be a great player. Justice Kraft, that kind of thing, worked hard every day. And they graduate as daughters of Marshall, and they move on. But some of the things that have transpired in our program just need to be better. And that starts with the coaching, and it goes from there. When something like this happens, you don't just point and go, you got bad kids, because you don't. You've just got to find a good way to move forward, do well, and we've got a group of kids that are here, want to be here. They worked all spring to be here, and now my whole charge is to make sure that those kids understand how much I respect what they just went through.
You, in looking at some of the people that you did bring in, one thing that stuck out to me, it looks like that you've added a little bit on the power side, a little bit on the height side, and that was needed in the program.
There's always been one thing that every championship I've won, whether it was Fairfield University or here, had one thing in common, and that's an international player or two. It's important because, it's when you're going up against, you can get an international player, through a connection or through a service or somewhere in that area that is looking for a niche in a certain type of school that isn't, a kid in the United States at the same level as being recruited by those top Power Fives. And I think we've done that. I think we've done that again. We've gotten back down into Trinidad. And we got a nice young lady there, and I was able to go down there and see Kelly and Jalecia. And,
I was going to say, if she's anything like Kelly Ann Billinger, then she's pretty good.
Well, I'm gonna say that I didn't know Kelly Ann Billinger was going to be like Kelly Ann Billinger, but I knew that Kelly was a few things. Kelly was a young lady who had so much desire and love for the sport, and she had never had real solid, say, fundamental coaching before she got here. And she put together that incredible athleticism and power, and then developed her fundamentals and turned it into a 10-year professional career.
Yeah.
And now she's retiring this year, as Trinidad is the first English-speaking island nation to qualify for the World Cup Championships of volleyball.
Wow.
And Jalecia is the starting middle. Kelly is the starter on the outside or the opposite, and she also does some setting for Trinidad. And then she's planning on hanging it up and retiring. But when I got down there, it was so cool to see how they were working with their youth. And they were they were giving back. And they were working with youth players. And they couldn't wait to get me to the gym to watch some of the kids that they wanted me to see. And it was awesome.
That's good stuff. Of course, we talk about Kellyanne. She was just named about a week or so ago to the newest class of the Marshall Athletic Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And you know what's great news about that, too, is when it first came to my knowledge about it, I looked at the dates, and then I looked at when they were traveling for the World Cup, and she was going to have to miss the weekend because they're playing in the World Cup. But they've pushed the training back for the World Cup when they go to Japan, and I believe Kellyanne will now be able to be here. And, I mean, that's exciting. That's just so exciting to see Kelly back in Huntington is going to be something special.
And of course, that's going to be they're going to be honored the first home football weekend, which would be the Eastern Kentucky game, be week 2 of the football season.
I apologize. So when I was first told, I believed it was week 3, and now they're doing it on Eastern Kentucky week. Okay.
I think that's when they're going to do it. But
okay.
That could be subject to change as far as getting everybody here. That's a good point. Again, look at it. The folks you did sign, you always like to have some good local talent. You've been very fortunate to sign local girls, and this time you got Autumn Ellswick from Winfield, and she has good pedigree.
She's a good kid, man.
Yeah.
Autumn has worked really hard. She's come up through our club. She played in our club since 15 years old, 15, 17, 18. She's played. Autumn's just a hard worker. And I mean, when you say hard worker, I don't know anybody who works harder than her when she's on that floor. And she just was one of the setters on a national championship team from our club, and couldn't be more proud of Autumn, and can't wait to have her in our gym playing for us.
Still a week or two away. Hopefully, I guess we'll get to hear about a schedule, right?
Well, I believe that should be coming out. The schedule's done. I've met with Jason. He's got it. And I think he's just working on a good time to come out. The Mountaineers are back on the schedule. We'll be going up to Morgantown this year. It'll be a late November or early November game.
Early November.
So that'll be fun. It's always fun to play the big, some big schools. And now West Virginia, I mean, they're recruiting in the Big 12, and that's
usual rivals Moorhead and Ohio. Are they still on the schedule?
On the schedule, both at home this year.
Yeah.
And that'll be fun. A couple midweek matches, Moorhead, Ohio, and I think that's actually our home schedule this year. We're not hosting a tournament this season.
Okay. And we'll get that officially out here probably the next few days. And let's talk a little bit about the club, the national championship. I know you are really proud of this.
Well, yeah. I mean, the River City Thunder. Mike Strickland. I think a lot of people know who Mike Strickland is. He's a great person in the community with Rubber Light, and he came to me my first season here and said, "I have a daughter." And we all know that daughter now works with the M Club, runs the M Club, and she is an in-charge person. And
she worked for you as an assistant for several years.
Greatest, you know. She's Taylor Strickland is Marshall through and through, and one of the great young people. And she's not, that I got to meet. She started in our club as 15 years old. Came through the club, came through the program, coached the program. You can't ask more than that out of somebody. But Mike Strickland is the guy who should have credit in convincing me to start a youth club, and we've been doing it ever since.
They went out to Anaheim, California a couple weekends ago, won a national title, played the best, beat the best.
We played in the 18 American division,
right,
and which is a great division for our size. But in the end, you got teams that were playing. We beat out of Houston, Texas, out of Chicago. That division's supposed to be for a little smaller populated areas.
Yeah.
But these clubs that didn't qualify in their high ends, which you've got an open division, which is just something that we're not ready for, and then you've got a couple other divisions, and we're able to play in any of those at this point now. But we qualified for the 18 American division. That's the great part about USAV Nationals. You have to qualify. You got to go to a tournament and win or finish second in a major event and get to go. And that's what's great about that event. That's our best. We had that same team won the JVA World in Division II. So you have 3 divisions there, and they won the second division championship at JVA World. Now, that's also another big governing body for junior volleyball. So you've got AAU, you got USAV, And USAV is really that top notch. And then you've got JVA and AAU. And so that's 2 major titles for this club that these girls brought us, and you can't be any prouder. This all kids from Paintsville, Kentucky to Charleston, West Virginia, and they travel to our
truly
club.
A regional team.
It is. There's no going out to nationals and picking up 2 kids from California or anything like that. Everybody's from us. Everybody has to be within 50 miles. Otherwise, we can't coach them as collegiate coaches. So it's just a lot of pride there.
Well, Mitch, hang around because we're going to take a risk here in transit to the Southern Conference USA softball
Conference
tournament.
USA, man.
Jen Steele and the volleyball or the softball team. They're on their way to Charlotte, and we're going to give them a call. Well, let's hope that the cell phone holds here because they're going to do battle with Western Kentucky in a couple of days down in Charlotte. But we're going to talk to Jen Steele about some Conference USA softball tournament action coming up right up next here on The Drive.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Good afternoon, and we are moving along on The Drive. It's 5:43, and we're going to touch base on the road with the first-year head coach of the Marshall softball team, Jen Steele. Jen and the Herd are on their way to the Conference USA softball championships down in Charlotte. They'll be taking on Western Kentucky. The Herd's 5th seed, the Hilltoppers are the 8th seed. Good afternoon, Jen.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, we got Mitch Jacobs, Marshall volleyball coach, with us as well. So we've got cast of thousands in here. You guys have to feel well after a good, solid senior day doubleheader sweep yesterday over MTSU.
Yeah, it was really nice to finally be able to get out there on Sunday. We didn't know what the weather was looking like, so we were really lucky to get both games in.
Man, what a senior class that you had to say goodbye to, at least on a home level. You talk about the heart of the program the last couple of years. Of course, so successful last year before you came on, and those seniors, they've had good years, solid years, and they're going to be tough to replace.
Absolutely. I mean, all 5 of them actually, it was pretty special this weekend. All 5 of them started and they played and they contributed in multiple ways. And then our 6th senior is Caitlin Gale, and she was medically disqualified this year and has been helping out in a student assistant role, and obviously with her ties to the university for as long as she's had them. Just really makes this class just special in a lot of ways, and I couldn't think of a better gift for us to give them than a walk-off win at home. So it was really exciting.
Of course, you're going to play the first game of the tournament on Wednesday against the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. You're the 5th seed. They're the 8th seed. You played them down in Bowling Green a couple of weeks ago, and unfortunately topped 2 out of 3. Looks like these are 2 teams that, despite the fact you're a little higher up in the conference ranking, pretty evenly matched.
I think so. I mean, our division in the league is pretty tough. 5 of the 6 of our teams actually made the tournament. So they take, the top 8, and 5 of our 6 on our half of the division went. And so it's tough top to bottom, to be quite honest. And so when you look at wins and separating the 1st seed from the 5th seed, it's pretty evenly matched. So Western Kentucky is a solid ball club. They have a lot of thunder in their offense, and so it should be a really good first game on Wednesday.
Now, this is a real pressure test on Wednesday because basically you have to win or you're done. And, of course, if you're able to win, you got a game at 5 o'clock against 4th seed La Tech.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess so. We're trying to look at it as trying not to put too much emphasis on the have to and the got to and the need to, because anytime you start talking like that, it makes moments bigger than they are. And so we're trying to play one pitch at a time, and we're actually on the bus right now. My staff and I, we're all kind of looking at each other. We all have different laptops and computers open, trying to get as much scouting in as we can before we practice tomorrow. So really all of our preparation is going to go into figuring out how to beat Western Kentucky. And then we definitely do have a quick turnaround with La Tech. They were they were in contention. They just really had to win one game this weekend to be the regular season champion, I believe. And then they actually got swept on the road by UTEP, and so, which they hadn't been swept all year. And so, we're riding some momentum right now, and they're coming off of a tough weekend. But we're trying, again, not to look too far ahead, because right now Western Kentucky is really just in our way.
Hey, Jen, this is Mitch.
Hi, Mitch.
Hi. Good luck now, of course. Go Herd, baby.
Thank you.
Got a question for you, though. How, with the NCAA all gears up towards the double round, you're right? It's all, or double, not round robin, but double elimination. So how do you guys feel about, a completely different format for your conference tournament with this big protection towards the 1 and 2 seeds, and rather than just going in with 2 separate groups of 4 and then playing that championship like you might do in, if you made it all the way to the College World Series?
Well, right now I don't like it because we're the 5 seed, but I think I would really like it if we were one of the top 4. But I understand the theory behind it and protecting the 1 and 2 for as long as possible. Protecting 3 and 4 is just interesting to me. I think that's stretching it out just a bit. I think you can maybe shake up the bracket a little bit differently and still find a way to protect 1 and 2 without making it so tough on 5 through 8. Because if you're going to make it that tough and that easy for the top 4, I'm unsure as to why the tournament or why our conference tournament is as large as it is. You could always cut the teams down if you didn't want that. So a little bit of a different format, but I understand the theory behind it. It's just interesting to me how much, we try to protect 3 and 4 as well.
Can you share it all a little bit with how you feel Western Kentucky's going to attack you all, and how you guys want to, go after them, and what your strengths and weaknesses are, to share with, because you got a huge softball following with Marshall at this point.
Yeah, well, from Western Kentucky, from their standpoint, what they really did to us last time is they really beat us with a lot of short game, and so there was really not a lot in between. So they would bunt and push bunt, and we were out of position quite a bit, and then they would smack a home run. So it's like you were getting one or the other. You were getting beat in front of you, or you were getting beat all the way over the fence. And so, from our strategy, we're going to ensure that we can't get beat in front of us, because that's just something that is important to us. And
Gotcha.
so if they're going to score runs, we're going to force them to earn it. So I'm interested to kind of see what they bring from an offensive standpoint. Both of their pitchers that we faced, we hit really hard during moments. We scored a lot of runs that weekend in Bowling Green. We scored a lot, and we still, I forget what the scores were, but maybe we didn't score a lot, actually. Well, we scored only in 4 of the 21 innings, but we put up a lot of runs, is what I remember. We just had really big innings. And so I feel good about our offense matching up with their pitching staff. We're just going to have to find a way to contain their bats.
Right. Of course, Coach, you're playing for an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. Of course, last year was a pretty good year for the league as far as multiple bids to the tournament. Do you foresee that this year?
I don't. I think I really think we're only going to get the one team in. Whoever wins it, I don't think anyone's close enough there right on that bubble. So I think it's kind of all up for grabs right now. And really, the league is wide open, to be honest. It's a tough road for 5 through 8, but there isn't, no one's running away with it this year like they have in years past, and there isn't necessarily one dominant team. And so, anything can happen in May. And so that's, hopefully you find some rhythm at the right point. You're starting to peak.
Well, Coach, we hope you get a good restful night's sleep, get some good practice in tomorrow, and we will be paying attention midday on Wednesday when you guys take on Western Kentucky. Good luck. We'll be rooting you on, and let's go Herd.
Good luck, Jen.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Go Herd.
That's right. Jen Steele, the softball coach for the Herd, getting all these sports mixed up, Mitch, but Jen Steele's done
Don't
a nice
get that mixed up.
Tell you what,
she's done a great job. With
first year having to follow Shonda Stanton and the great record Shonda Stanton put in, Jen Steele has put her mark.
Well, she's
on
here
the
for a
program.
reason. She did a heck of a job at her previous.
Yes,
school.
she did. Yes, she did.
So let's, we know why we've got a good coach here now, and wish Shonda all the well. But man, she's a Hoosier now.
That's right.
And I love Shauna, but she's a Hoosier now.
That's right.
Jen's part of the herd, and that's
Jen,
really all that matters. And I hope we get a couple more walk-offs because that was exciting on Sunday.
Yeah, Jen's did a great job, and to me, they got just as good a shot as anybody down in Charlotte over the next few days. The way this tournament works, it's single elimination on Wednesday. If you can get to Thursday, though, it goes to double elimination. And as you made the point, Mitch, it's really designed to protect number 1 seed, number 2 seed. So, and that's the way it is set up to go. Because
so when it gets down to the final 4, they go to double.
They go to double. So
somebody
they're still protected.
Somebody sat in a room, figured out this whole thing, and then figured out a way for people to buy it.
And
that's whoever sold them on that. I mean, why not just put them in 2 groups of 4, play it out, and have a champion of each 4, and then go for it, one game, just like the championship.
Basically, and that's basically how baseball works. But softball is different, and
Jen seems pretty confident, so I'm with her.
I'm with her. I'm with as well. I think they're going to do really well. Take one last break. Be back with a few final comments. One local high school sports hire we're going to talk about here on The Drive.
Now, back to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Bill Cornwell back with you on The Drive. Last couple of moments on this Monday, the 7th of May, 2018. Thanks to Mitch Jacobs. Thanks to Jen Steele, Marshall head coaches for The Drive today. New coach hired for the Ashland Tomcat basketball team over the weekend. This comes from our buddy Mark Swift, the athletic director at Paul Blazer High School, announcing that Jason Mays is the new head coach of the Tomcats. Mays comes after serving as an assistant and an interim head coach at Kentucky Wesleyan, Division II power in the past, been struggling lately. But now that shows you the stature of the Ashland basketball program. When you can attract guys who are coaching college ball to come and coach high school. But that's no surprise because the Ashland Tomcat basketball program is one of the most tradition-rich in the nation. So Jason Mays will be the new head coach of Ashland Tomcat boys basketball. And that's the third of some high-profile high school hirings in recent weeks. Of course, started off with the Ironton football hiring of Trevon Pendleton, new head coach for Fighting Tiger football. Then last week, the hiring of Ty Holmes as the new boys basketball coach at Huntington High School. So added those high-profile hirings, Jason Mays, new head basketball coach at Paul Blazer High School, announced by Mark Swift, the Paul Blazer High athletic director. Tonight it is hockey time. It is, first off, 7 o'clock, Washington at Pittsburgh, Game 6 in that Eastern Conference semifinal. Caps lead that series 3-2. They can wrap up that series in Pittsburgh tonight. And Nashville's at Winnipeg, fighting for their lives. Jets lead that series by a score or by a margin of 3-2. Had a good day today here on The Drive. Gabriel Sellards, we thank him for taking care of the engineering end. I'm Bill Corn, and I'll be back with you tomorrow. More on The Drive.
Huntington, W227BS Huntington, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Huntington Sports Station.